let's declutter. Do we really need to be doing all those things? Because it had some importance sometimes. Or we keep trying to make it work and it's just not giving us leverage. So let's stop it.
Yeah.
Hi, Lynette. Great to see you again. And, we're recording obviously at the same time, so we'll do the Raptor theme, but our audience may have different results by the time you listen to the video. But anyway, here we are, and it's good to see you. And
Good to see you.
And I want to talk to you today about the antithesis of taking forward action and adding. I want to talk a little bit about the importance of stopping things, because it's really hard. It's hard to do because we're so good at adding on. And I just wanted to get your reaction. I want to tell you a little bit of this quick story. So one of my colleagues, and I just admire her so much, the other day, had actually, her team had invested a lot in a system that people hated. They hate it. And they were trying to make it work. And people, of course, are trying to go along and make it work too. But underneath that, there's this seething frustration with this particular process and activity. I don't want to name it because I haven't asked permission to expose it. So I want to know the essence of it. But anyway, to her credit, incredible courage, she went back and stopped it. And she stopped it across the entire institution. And I went to see her after she did it, and the reaction she got from the community, the thanks that she got, was so personally touching for her that the acknowledgement of her having the courage to stop something.
Wow.
And I was thinking, you know what, Lynette, don't you think that we have got so many things that there are things we do at the VC organization if they had the courage to stop them? There's important adding on going forward, right?
I love it. I love it. I feel like so many times we've hit that stage where, oh God, we've almost gone too far now to stop, and we just keep going, but our gut is saying we should not be doing this. This does not feel right, but no one really wants to say anything because there's just been so much time invested in it. But there's so much to that story that's just crazy. Like, you think about somebody implementing something that the organization didn't really respond very positively to, but we just kept on implementing it. So how could you have done something differently about that?
I know, because we talk about grit and resilience and going through the finish line, and of course that's important, and I get it, but sometimes we just need to stop stuff.
Yeah.
And just we work so hard to. I think about it as simple as around why there's so much interest around decluttering, right? There's so much, the whole simplifying and I think it's because I think the same thing happens around organization life. We just got to get rid of stuff, and try and give ourselves a little more space to do that. Like, we go to these meetings all the time that get populated in our calendars. And when you join someplace new, you go, wow, there's that meeting and that meeting and that meeting and that meeting and that meeting, and they're populated into your calendars, and the organization just participates in them.
Yeah.
Or sometime if they take the stop to say, you know what, we need to do spring cleaning. Let's declutter. Do we really need to be doing all those things? Because it had some importance sometimes. Or we keep trying to make it work, and it's just not giving us leverage. So let's stop it.
Yeah, and I honestly, some of the books that I've been reading, and I'm sort of referencing some of the older books that I've been reading. There is one book, and I won't mention it because I'll probably people will totally disagree with me on it. But I was reading it, and it's a book that people use all the time. And I was reading through it the other day, and I thought, this just feels old school. It doesn't feel right for the conditions that are happening today in the workforce and the way that we're asking people to show up at work. And part of me feels like anything that a leadership book that's been written 10 years ago probably doesn't have the same relevance as it would back then as it does, or the same relevance today. And I think that we've got to be really aware and
Yeah.
present of what we're trying to implement, because this book is a book that has been used by many great leaders and great organizations, but that was 10 years ago. And when I read it today, I just feel like, oh, I would not put half of that stuff in. I still believe in the, understanding the values of the organization and those, the whole sort of Simon Sinek why and the values of the organization. That's not new from Simon. That's like that's years ago that the great companies were doing that. He just, like you had mentioned in our earlier vlog, that it was just eloquently put together so that other, sort of brought to the attention of people. But that stuff still is relevant. But I feel like we're trying to fit old ways of doing things into this new way of working. And we can get caught up in, well, no, we have to have this type of system put in place or this type of process put in place because that's how we've always learned it or we've always done it. So
I think you're a really good point, and I think it's a little bit of we don't talk about it that much. It's a little bit of we talk about technological change and all those changes coming along, but underneath that, there are these social changes around, the assumptions that we put in place around how people work together. Someone said to me the other day that the idea that you can't be virtual and that people need to be called back into the office. Like we need to bring people back in the office so they have collisions. Well, collisions don't just need to happen. I mean, being virtual and having collisions are not, they can go together. You just have to completely think differently about what that is, right? Like when you're in the office and you're all sitting around one table, of course, you're going to have collisions. But that doesn't mean if you have a virtual experience that you can't find a way somehow to sit around a table. You just have to be committed to make the collision happen. But a lot of times we don't make choices. At least I have a propensity to add. I'm a horrible adder. Like I'll add into my closet without decluttering first. And because that shirt still's good.
There's this lady out there called Maria Kondo.
I know.
Marie Kondo. She's on the new Google.
But I think it applies to I don't think we do it enough around organization life. Like our work life is cluttered. Big closet.
It's cluttered full of what though? Like cluttered full of unnecessary processes, unnecessary systems, unnecessary. And if we just trusted in our gut and our belief system, we could probably take a lot of that old school stuff and really apply a more current approach. But I think you get that through involving your community versus, again, trying to do it on your own and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, let's think about this just for a minute around how many organizations will say something like, well, that time of the year we can't do anything because that's performance review time.
I know.
Performance review time at the end of the year, I've got to put 6 weeks of meetings and 360-degree reviews, and I've got to get all those forms. And if I don't, HR is going to be all over me to get those forms in. And so everybody colludes around not having enough, quote, time to do stuff. And then does this stuff, but really there's not the courage sometimes that we need to take back and say, we're going to cut all that shit out. It's gone. One day, gone.
Right. No, exactly. So, I think just there's so much to be said about just taking a step back and just asking yourself, does this feel right? Is this going to feel, is it just what I think I need to do, or does it feel right in terms of what I need to do? And Lauren, what would you say the sort of top 3 takeaways from today's session would be? What key messages?
I think even though we have it in our heart to want to do this, I think when we give our time to do the strategic work we do, or the thoughtful work we do around where we're investing our time and energy, I think we need to give more time and space for the things we are genuinely going to stop and completely kill. And I know that people declare that, but we're not really good. I'm not really good at doing it. I need to be better at that. And I'm going to challenge our listeners to try that too. This week, just look at one thing, honestly, you can kill and stop. And the second thing is that I think we need to challenge assumptions around things that we built in about that's the way we have to do things. Like, I mean, it's bigger than just stopping. It's like challenge back any assumptions. Then give yourself time to think and say, why the hell do we even do that to begin with? What are we go back to the why? Why are we really even trying to do that?
Yeah.
And then the third is have the courage, because a lot of these things travel across departments, functions, and processes. So you kind of collude by doing your piece of it, because you don't want to offend the rest of the political system that's
That's
created.
right.
So you got to have the courage to go back to whoever somehow owns the stuff and challenge it, right? And to say, talk back in a respectful way. And the fourth thing is, I have a shirt in my closet that John Travolta probably used to wear. I'm going to send it to you as part of my decluttering. I'm sure you'd like it.
There you go. Well, perfect. I just did my own purge the other day because I moved. And so I literally, yeah, it's amazing how good it feels too. So
Okay, organization purge to add to your closet purge.
there you go. Thanks,
See ya.
Lauren. Always nice talking to you.
Talk to you next week.
Thanks. Bye.